Welcome to the Outdoor Atlas podcast studio sessions with Mark Melnick, bringing you inside the industry with the people, the influencers, and the athletes of the outdoors. Here we go. Welcome, Mark Melnick.
I had the distinct pleasure of fishing with this gentleman last summer up in Canada's near north, near the Arctic, and he put on an absolute pike clinic. He's all fishing, and he's all rock and roll. Coming up after the break, we're with the one, the only, Ant Glascoe Jr.
Miminisco Lodge is Ontario's premier fly-in fishing destination. Fly away to your own personal pike and walleye factory.
There's a fish. Nice walleye. Good one.
Or explore Ontario's backcountry in search of big brook trout.
Pull this guy up for a picture. Awesome. I'm gonna let him go.
Here, there are no roads. Full service. In the middle of nowhere. Rustic luxury. Unmatched fishing. Adventure as it's meant to be. Miminisco Lodge. Book today at www.wildernessnorth.com.
Ant, it's been almost a full year since you and I got to share a boat. How have you been, man?
I've been doing okay, mate. I just hope you guys can understand my English Mancunian accent.
I got you. Clear as mud, man. Clear as mud. So, you've sort of made your name in the UK as a pike angler, but you know your fishing history goes really deep, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was just having this conversation this morning with a friend of mine. You know, I started off at the age of 3 years old, fishing with my parents. You know, which was bizarre to have parents that were really into the pike fishing. You know, and what really got me by the nuts, sorry if I can say that, but what really grabbed me, that really wanted me to catch these fish was one day I witnessed a huge pike. We have a fish called a chub over in the UK. I mean, mum's bringing in this huge pike and grab this chub. And since then, I know it sounds cheesy, you know, but I actually stared that fish in the eye, you know, right in the eyeball. And since that day, you know, that's all I wanted to target and fish for. So, yeah. So, basically, it started there. My old fella, he threw me in at the deep end, you know. He gave me a rod and reel, and he never taught me how to cast. I had to kind of figure it all out myself, you know.
Well, that's funny because that's sort of how the majority of we all got started fishing is. For me, it wasn't my dad, but it was my grandfather, and he was the original fishing buddy, if you know what I mean. Like, we would go out after dinner at the cottage, we'd go out and he'd have a cocktail or two, and we'd go trolling for northern pike and bass and whatever we'd catch. But those were the fundamental building blocks of what turned out to be a great fishing career. So, you know, hats off to moms and dads that really do take the time to take their kids out and expose them to the great outdoors. And so you've been fishing all your life. What's the fishing like in the UK? I mean, there's all kinds of sort of misconceptions about what fishing's like in the UK. That all you fish for is carp, and you have to be a member of a fishing country club in order to target those fish.
Well, to be fair, you know, there's a lot of clubs. Everyone's gone crazy on carp, and it's not new. Carp fishing was really big even when I was a kid, and to be a predator fisherman back when I was a kid, you know, was really unheard of. You know, there wasn't many people pike fishing, lure fishing, and you know, if I was to walk down the canal 25 years ago with a small spinner blade lure, people would look at me as if I was an alien, you know. And just over the past 15 years, because we've had access to products, the lures, the brands, I think it's just got even more bigger and bigger, and now it's like a fashion, you know. It's like cool to go lure fishing, and even the old guys, even the carp guys, they're all changing over in the winter times to target pike on lures, and a lot of the old school guys as well. They're all fishing with lures for pike and perch and chub and even zander, you know, which you guys call walleye or whatever. They're pretty similar species. But yeah, I mean, but there's still a lot of old school stuff going around. There's your traditional carp guys, but you know, Britain is mad on carp. I will say that, and they're absolutely bonkers. You know, giving them names and fishing for them with different types of crazy, smelly baits, and you know, I think most of it's kind of psychological because, you know, I have this argument. I'm sort of going off the story a little bit, but I keep telling these carp fishermen that I once seen one of the biggest river carp in my life swimming round with a golf ball in its mouth, and the golf ball, that the carp was dropping the golf ball and then hoovering it back up and then spitting it back out, and this carp was 40 pounds plus. It was a huge carp, and so I'm a bit skeptical about when they're going crazy about baits and stuff, when you're seeing a monster carp swimming around sucking in a golf ball.
They're putting too much thought into it, it seems, you know. And ironically, you talk about a giant carp. Didn't this week Britain's largest ever carp weighed died, right?
Yeah, I seen that. I seen that news on Facebook.
77 pounds or something like that.
Yeah, it's a huge fish, you know. To me, it's just a big daft goldfish, but but yeah, you know, yeah, I seen it on the news that it's died. You know, God knows what happened there. You know, I don't know. I don't really follow the news when it comes to sort of like carp and stuff. I don't pay attention enough, to be fair. But yeah, no, it's died, which is a real shame. You know.
You mentioned earlier a little bit about the brands that you're fishing with, and how lure fishing is relatively new to the UK, especially for pike and things like that, where the tradition has been for carp and rough fish.
Yeah.
You know, you've really carved yourself a unique niche with respect to your personal brand, Ant. Tell me a little bit about what your philosophy is with respect to who you are as an angler. I said you're a little bit rock and roll, man, but you are definitely a lot of a rock and roll fisherman.
Well, to be fair, you know, I just try and, you know, I love my music like yourself, Mark. I mean, we spoke about the music. I like the band. You like the band, the Last Waltz and all that stuff. I really love my music. Me fishing really is my second passion, you know. I have the privilege to sort of hang around with a lot of guys in the music industry, and a lot of the guys are into fishing as well, and that's real. That is my real passion. But I've just been myself, you know. I'm bald. I've got a beard, and I've noticed a lot of people growing beards now in the UK, and it's pretty cool. It is cool. But I don't pretend to be anyone, you know. I've been brought up like this. This is all I know, and this is what I want to do. And you know, and I'm known for wearing Motorhead t-shirts. The guys send me 3 or 4 t-shirts a year, so it looks like I'm wearing the same t-shirt. But honest, mate, I'm not.
Well, that's the thing, right? And in the public eye, which you've launched yourself into, you can only be true to yourself, and you can only be you, because people can smell that bullshit a mile away. If you're not true to who you are, who your brand is, what you love, you might as well just quit while you're you know, it's not worth it anyway.
That's it, mate. You know, and you know, I don't like to sugarcoat things, you know, Mark. I mean, you spent quite a bit of time with me, and we've had a laugh, and you know what I'm like, and I know what you're like, and you know, and we just have a laugh and enjoy it. There's too much seriousness going on in the world of fishing, you know, and the politics is just unbelievable, especially in the UK now. But I just go out there and enjoy myself. I've been there, done it, and wore the t-shirt with tournament shirts and sponsorships and all that carry on, you know, and now I just want to be myself and just carry on doing what I do, and that's just go out there and fish, you know. And I've got quite a unique way of saying things, you know. I've got I'm being really good right now, to be fair, because I'm normally swearing and stuff, but you know, there's a time and a place for that. But that's just the way I am, you know. So but yeah, it's kind of rock. It is rock and roll.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, the thing is, though, is that you live the lifestyle. Everything from skull rings to crazy necklaces to you know, all that good stuff. I definitely admire the brand that you've created, and it seems like some of the bigger names in fishing have noticed that too, because you've got quite an interesting list of supporters from all over the world, really, that believe in what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it is really cool, and I was involved with a lot of big brands. I'm not so sure whether we can mention them brands online or Savage Gear. Yeah, when Savage Gear first started off in the UK, no one knew who they were, what name they were, and there was only me at the time building that brand up in the UK, and then they took on a few other people, and then the brand just totally built. I gave them quite a lot of ideas and input, as well as with me old fella as well. And we worked really hard building the brand in the UK, and then I wanted to do my own thing, and have no pressure of stuff, and I've been helping the guys at Lawrence out for nearly 10 years now. Costa sunglasses, and but it's cool. There's no pressure. I just do my own thing, and just crack on,
And you've even got a new sponsor from Canada that's jumped on board with what you offer in Live Target with Grant Copper. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Yeah, I mean the guys at Live Target. There's some people in the UK distributing the brand. And I've just recently made 9 films, which are going to be shown on Matt Hazy's page and Live Target UK page. We've just done some surface fishing for the pike on frogs, which was really cool. We got some really good footage, and yeah, I mean it's quite. I mean, I've known of the brand for quite a few years, and to be asked to help them out, which has been cool. And I'd just like to say that I'm also helping a brand out called H2O, which is a purebred British brand, aimed at we have this thing called LRF fishing, which is light rock fishing, where we target these little small species off the shore on real light tackle. And these guys dedicate themselves into making small, little, real tiny 1 gram jig heads, just for these little species of fish that everyone looks past, and so I'm helping them guys out as well develop their pike range, which is going to be soft baits, spinner baits, rods, reels, and which is going to be cool. I mean, I've been doing this, I've been helping the development of tackle companies now for over 15 years in the UK. So there is kind of a serious side of me, although I act immature and do stupid things. When I get focused, when I get focused on something, I just jump straight into serious mode and help these people out.
Well, one of the great things about where you live, and I've been following, other than the time that we got to spend up in northern Canada here. Oh, it's going to be one of those interviews, is it?
Cheers, Mark.
All right, man.
It's your fault. I'm drinking this Bud Light.
Don't you bring me down to that level, buddy. Where you live, and I've been watching your Facebook page religiously. I consider you a friend now, Ant, because of the things that we've talked about, and things that we've gone through sort of over the last year. But you've got such an unbelievable fishery in England, spawning from pike and zander to, inner city brown trout and ocean fish like perch. And you really do have it all. England's got a terrible name for fishing other than rough fish, but you're exposing a lot of what the nation has to offer.
Well, that's just it, Mark. I mean, you've probably seen some of the brown trout that we've been catching, and they kind of remind me of those brook trout you and Matt were catching, and these fish are untouched, and they're right here on my doorstep. I can walk out of my front door now in the middle of the suburbs of Gangland, and we can be catching specimen brown trout to 8 pounds, untouched, and no one knows they're there. Unfortunately, I have to fish for them, and it kind of sounds selfish, I have to be really stealthy about the situation, because if the local kids get whiff, I know it's sounding selfish, but it's about preserving these fish as well. And if 10 kids go down there with little spinners, they're going to catch them, and God knows what's going to happen to them. They might be all right. But so yeah, and the pike fishing's okay. I won't say it's amazing. You just got to know the right places to go to. Our perch fishing, we've been getting some amazing perch. Probably have to be my favourite. I really love my perch fishing, and we do the drop shotting and all the same stuff you guys and the Americans do, and we've got chub, we've got zander, and then we've got the non-predatory type of species that you wouldn't class them as predators. Is the barbel, the obviously the carp, your roach and stuff like that, But yeah, we've got some really cool fishing, especially if you go really further up north. I mean, I live in Manchester, right in the city centre. So if you go further up north to the north of Scotland in the Highlands, and then it gets really bleak and kind of untouched up that way,
Oh, it sounds fantastic. Sounds like kind of like the last frontier of fishing in Europe, really.
Yeah. It's amazing, mate, and we are kind of spoiled, especially in the city here. But like I have to point out, you've got to know where to go these days,
So, do you guide?
I do, yeah. I have been doing some guiding. I've done quite a bit of guiding last year. I've guided for quite a few famous people that don't want to be in the limelight, or they don't want to be all over Facebook. As you know, I put everything on Facebook. So I have to be careful of what I put on Facebook and stuff, because it's their escape. They want to go fishing, and basically forget about all the troubles, But I do some guiding, and I do a lot of voluntary stuff as well. If a lot of people, the kids want to get out fishing, and I do a lot of free tuition, and I donate quite a lot of money to charity as well, So I don't really take on a guiding trip. I just say, donate to my favorite charity, and 9 out of 10 it's a charity called the RNLI, which is the Royal National Lifeboat, and basically they're our guardian angels when we're out fishing at sea. If we get into trouble out there, we call these guys up, and they are out there. Luckily for me, I've got quite a few friends on my local RNLI team, and they're great, And I just have to point out as well, Mark, I hope you don't mind me saying, I didn't really want to mention it, but as you know, my old fella passed away 2 months ago, and he was a massive impact on my life, and at the moment I'm trying to keep sort of everything going. But at his funeral, we accepted donations only. And we have the RNLI bucket there, and the people donated there, and we raised over 800 English pounds, which we're going to donate. Me and my mum are going to donate that next week, which was really good. So yeah, I just thought, and if anyone's watching who donated, I'd just like to say thanks, because it means a lot. So, but yeah. Anyway, cheers, Mark. So thanks for letting me mention that.
Yeah, of course, man. I know it's a bit of a sensitive subject to you and your family, and you do have my condolences. I knew we were in contact right after your father passed. So, you know what, Ant? The best thing you can do is keep on keeping on, and have seniors' memory with you everywhere you go. Like I said at the beginning with my original fishing buddy, my grandfather, he's, every time I'm on the water, he's with me. I know it. And, I just one more day, I'd give the world for one more day on the water with him.
One more day. And I know it sounds horrible, but I would never thought I'd ever say this, but I would cut my left arm off right now to spend 2 hours with my dad.
Yeah.
And that's the God's honest truth, man.
Yeah.
So if you're watching, anyone who's watching, spend as much time with your loved ones as possible, because you never think it's ever going to happen to you, but trust me, it will.
Yeah. Now, where you're sitting, that looks, is this your dad's desk, or is it his bar, or what?
This actually, I don't know whether you can see that there, people, or Mark, but this actually is a bar. I'm sat right now in my parents' home, and this is a bar. And it's all fully working taps. He's got all sorts of fishing memorabilia on there, and We've got skulls and lights and black lights going. And if I turn the lights out, it'll look pretty cool. I don't know whether it'll work or you can see this, but
Oh yeah, that's great.
so yeah, so he's got it all black lit up, and so yeah, and basically I built that bar with my dad over 25 years ago, and the actual wood that's holding this place up is it's over 300 years old.
Oh, wow.
It came out of an old church, and hopefully it's gonna stay there for another 25 years.
That's awesome.
So, but it's kind of, I feel I spent a lot of time sat around here, and because we're a big fishing family, and we've had loads of anglers coming in this home, and the stories that have been told around this bar is just unreal, mate. So I feel kind of, so I thought it would be a little bit special to come down here and share this moment with yourself and sit down here, because I feel like I know it sounds cheesy, I feel like my dad sat right there. And I know he is, to be quite honest with you.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's make a promise that one day I'll sit and enjoy a pint of Guinness with you right there. How's that?
You will 100%. You can come over here anytime you want, mate.
So, Ant, what's in your future now? What have you got coming down the line that you're excited about?
Oh, mate, I have to be careful what I say. To be fair, I've got quite a few. I've got a live radio interview for a huge radio company coming up live on this Sunday coming, and that's going to be I think it's worldwide, but I'll put like details out on Facebook and stuff. I've got some more filming to do, and basically I'm going to spend some time on the coast. I'm going to get my old fella's boat back on the water, and we target a fish in our British coast called a bass, and the actual species is Dicentracus labrax. So as everyone would call them, sea bass. But if you're a proper bass fisherman in the UK, you call them bass, not sea bass. That's the kind of stuff you see on menus and stuff. So yeah. So and basically hold myself together and carry on doing what I was doing. I was all for throwing the towel in after my old fella. I just didn't want to. I didn't go fishing for two to 3 weeks. I just wasn't in the mood. And then I thought to myself, well, that's not the way to go, and he wouldn't have wanted that. So I've got it in my head that I'm going to take Mum out and do a lot more pike fishing with her this winter. I'm going to try and get her a big 25-pound plus pike. The PB's £20, so we're going to try and get her a big 25 plus this year, and I think we'll do it. We'll spend a lot of time with Mum this winter.
All right, man. Well, those are all very noble pursuits, and I wish you the best moving forward with them.
I appreciate that, Mark. Thanks, mate.
All right. So one of the perks of my job is I get to meet all kinds of people from all over the world, and Ant, you and I were able to spend some time in Canada's near north, in the near Arctic, actually in the Arctic watershed, fishing for pike and brook trout and things. What was your impression of fishing in Canada for the first time after being a lifer in England?
Well, Mark, it was a big step for me. It was as soon as I left. As soon as I boarded that plane to come to Canada, I knew I was on my own then, because I flew out on my own. I met Matt in Toronto, I think. And then we flew out to Thunder Bay. Sorry, mate, I'm trying to recap where it all was, because it all just happened so quick. And then we flew out, and then we met you guys, and as you know, well, you witnessed yourself. I was in a serious accident in a car when I was 17, and it made me claustrophobic. I can't get in lifts or be in a small space. And when you said to me, when that beaver plane was docked up, and I said, are we all getting on that? And I'm not saying the beaver plane's small, but to me, it was small. And it's not, trust me, it's not small. Well, it's kind of small. And my ass fell out. I kind of sort of, I just couldn't believe it, and anyway, we sat in the front and we all got in there, And as soon as we took off, man, it was like I left all my troubles behind, and it was an amazing experience. The pilot, what a pilot that guy is, and he's younger than me, which was bizarre. But to be in that beaver plane, I think that's what you call it. It was amazing. It was like an Indiana Jones moment, And we was on there 3.5, 4 hours or whatever it was, and that to me was a long time. But there was so much to see, And the craziest thing was, what kept me going was, I knew there was pike at the other end of this light, or I knew there was fish at the other end of this adventure, And I've got Matt Hayes in the background taking the piss. I've got you taking the piss, and Anders taking the piss, all laughing at me because I'm squashed up going, And I'm not scared of flying. It was just a small space at the time.
Yeah.
But that kind of got me, doing that journey got me it got me over a fear. So it was worth it for that. And when we landed, it was just magical. I just couldn't believe it. It was like a dream come true. It was, for someone that's been obsessed with pike for 30 years, to me was just a dream come true, because I'll never forget it. We boarded off the beaver plane, and I looked down under the dock there, and there was pike just swimming around as if it was normal, and straight away it's after us, and yeah, it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I really did.
Good stuff. And just think that you came in at a time when when the water was warm and the fishing was tough. Imagine what it's like when it's on fire. It's absolutely mind blowing up there. And we talked about the brown trout in Manchester. That's sort of our responsibility up in the north and Canada now. Is we really need to put those measures in to protect those fish and to make sure that that they're looked after, because they're worth a lot more money to Aboriginal tourism in the water than they are on somebody's dinner plate, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And I can remember turning up there and saying, Mark, can I bring me lures? Can I cast these little small spinners? And I remember you saying, no, strictly fly only. And I kind of, my tail went between my legs, and I didn't realize how much you guys wanted to preserve these fish, and I have loads of respect for that. So I take my hat off to you for stopping me in my reins from chucking every lure I had in my armory at them fish. So to spend 2 days or a day watching you as a machine, the way you was working with Matt, you was just totally a machine. And I'm not bigging you up here because you're my mate. I was watching you and Matt, and I was watching the way you worked with Matt. And I was behind the scenes with the camera, and it was worth me dragging, kayaks and engines and
those pasty white legs of yours.
Yeah, well, and it was great. And the craziest thing is, I didn't have any waders. I'd done everything in my trainers and my shorts. I was balls deep in river water, which was amazing. But to witness all that, mate, we had fallen trees coming down. We had to pull trees out of the way. It was a proper adventure. And at one point, I actually I'll admit it, mate, I got scared, because when we were the latter end of the brook trout filming part, I thought to myself, wow, we're miles away from the beaver plane. If one of us breaks our legs, or something happens, but you guys are so professional, and I felt, after a while, I felt so safe, and yeah, so yeah, what an adventure, mate. And it's been nearly a year since we were there, and I can't believe how fast it's done. And the trip was just amazing, mate, absolutely amazing. The girls looked after us, the food was amazing. And the guy who stood out mostly was old Joe. What a guy he is! I thought I was a character, man. He's a character on his own.
Yeah, Joe's. For those of you who may not know, Joe Boyce is one of our Ojibwe guides up at Wilderness North, and he's been living up in that area his entire life. He's multi-generational Ojibwe up there, and he knows he knows these rivers and these lakes like the back of his hand. I mean, that's his business, and you know, he doesn't say shit if his mouth's full of it, but when he's got something to say, I'll tell you what, it's important that he, you know, he's a wise man, and he's an excellent angler unto his own right.
Yeah, I wish I could have spent more time with him, you know, and but I found all the Ojibwe culture really fascinating. You know, I've always been fascinated with all that sort of stuff, with the way I've been brought up, you know, and it was surreal. It was like a dream, and you know, and speaking out to the people in the UK, if you've never been over there and Wilderness North and all that stuff, man, I totally recommend it, because it's another world, you know. It's another world, and the weather was really not on our side. It was red hot, and you know, we could only get these pike in early in the mornings or late in the evenings. But when we did, we were catching hundreds of the things, you know, and I'm not really exaggerating. And the walleye fishing, you know, one of my favourite fishing over here, Mark, is fishing for zander. I love zander, because where I live, we have to travel 4 hours down south from Manchester to catch zander. We don't get them up north where we are. And as you know, zander are very similar to walleye. Mm-hmm. And I was begging Matt for 4 days, 3 or 4 days, take me walleye fishing. I need to catch a walleye. And he was like, look, dude, after one walleye, you will get bored of catching walleye. And it never sunk in. And I'm like, how can you get bored of catching walleye? Anyway, we went fishing for the walleye. We filmed a small clip on these walleye. And I wasn't bored, but after 25 walleye, I was like, right, let's go pike fishing.
25 walleye in about a half an hour.
And I was even catching them on bare jig heads with no shads on. It was just a ball jig head with a hook, and they were smashing that, you know? That's bizarre.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Listen, we'll be back right after this with more from the one and the only Ant Glascoe Jr.
Vicious fishing line has low memory, which leads to superior castability. This castability, accompanied by extreme abrasion resistance, will lead to more fish in your boat. Vicious. Get vicious.
Welcome back to On the Line. I'm with Ant Glascoe Jr. He's across the pond from Manchester, England. So listen, I know that you're a professional drummer as well as an angler. What kind of bands are you running with these days? What keeps you into the seedy bars at night?
Well, you know, Mark, I haven't played the drums for a while. I mean, the last time I played the drums was literally 2 days before I flew out to meet you guys, and I done a sound check. I was taking care of a friend of mine called. Now I'm not name plugging, far from name plugging. A friend of mine called Slim Jim Phantom, and he was the drummer in a band called the Stray Cats. And basically, I was in charge of his whole drum kit, and he was playing on a festival not far from my home, huge festival, 40,000 people, and basically I was taking care of him, making sure he was okay, taking him to the train stations and making sure he's fed, and basically that his drum kit's all set up, and I had to set up in 40,000 people and give a drum solo, sound check, and all this carry on. And there's pictures on Facebook and stuff. And then, you know, that was literally before I flew out, 3 days before I flew out with you guys. And I've got some other good friends who, one of them was ex-guitarist of Lynyrd Skynyrd, a friend of mine called Mike Estes. Really good guitarist, amazing guitarist. And he's formed a band with former Blackfoot members and Molly Hatchet members, and it's called they're called Skinny Molly. And I've been hanging with them guys. They're all into fishing, and yeah, I was with them in Newcastle last week. And we after the gig we were just talking about fishing and doing bits and pieces. And Mike does a lot of largemouth bass fishing, and because I've never caught a largemouth bass, I bend his ear, you know, about bass, and you know, and he bends my ear about some of the fish that the pike we get in the UK and stuff. So we're going to arrange to do some fishing together, I hope, in the near future. The guys are back over in October. The guys are from Tennessee, by the way, and they're going to be coming over in October and touring, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be there with the guys and chilling and, maybe help them out, So, but apart from that, dude, that's about it, with the music scene. I haven't played the drums in a long time. I sold my drum kit about 5 years ago. I suffer with tinnitus. And I think that's, or tinnitus if you're American or Canadian.
I was like, what are you talking about?
So I've had to give that sort of stuff up, but I'm still out there chilling with the guys out of bands and stuff. It's amazing who's into actors and musicians that are into fishing. It's just unbelievable, mate. It really is. But apart from that, that's it.
Well, sounds like everything's coming up, Ant, man. Everything is good. Anthony, I want to thank you for your time. Again, all our best with respect to you and your family moving forward. And let's do this again sometime, shall we?
Mate, let's do it. Let's make it a date, because I reckon after this one, we could set up some sort of little trend of what I've been up to and what you've been up to, because, I can put something really stupid on Facebook and I'll get so many likes, it's unbelievable. And I think they just want to know what you've been up to, which is good. So I reckon we should keep this going and do like a regular thing, Maybe next time I talk to you, Mark, I've just got back from bass fishing. Now, I would really like to get you over to the UK and stay with us for a week or so, or 2 weeks or whatever, and I'll take you out on the boat and we'll do some bass fishing. I would also like to get you some big perch, because we get some big 4 pound pluses where we go, and be nice to take you guys over, or you yourself to come over and come over and drink beer and listen to music and fish.
You got it, man. All right, Ant. Thanks very much, man. All the best, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you. All the best, guys. Bye, Canada.